All right. No names were changed to protect the innocent in that story. All right, so back to math. All right, here is my triangle. Do we ever do this level of trig with the 90 degree? No, we don't. So the 90 degree is out. So there is the red and there is the green. Which of those is an angle of inclination? Just the green one. So the green one becomes my theta, yes? Which means I need the opposite 4 over the adjacent 5.5. That is the decimal. Am I asking for the decimal or am I asking for the angle? The angle. So I have to shift tan that. And that gets me the answers from the bottom of the page. All right? Now, remember, you can shift tan all in one step. Shift tan, bracket, 4 divided by 5.5, close brackets equals. Or, if you've got a backwards calculator, 4 divided by 5.5 in brackets, shift tan. And that will get you your 36 or whatever it was. Everybody cool? Do I need to show you all 4? No. Angle of inclination is always the one between the horizontal and the diagonal. Always. Everybody cool? All right. Now, this question always blows your people's minds, and I don't get it. Where is the angle of inclination in this question? It's right here where it always is, yes? And the tangent of that is opposite 20 over 100, yes? 20 over 100 is 20%, yes? Okay, so that's why this has a 20% grade. You have all seen this when you're driving. If you drive in the mountains, they show a big yellow sign like this, and it says, trucks, gear down, and then it gives a percent. That means it is that steep. Okay? At a certain point, trucks have to be in a very low gear so their engine holds them back because their brakes fail. That's why also on the highway you see those runaway lanes off the side of the highway into the woods. That's so when your truck's brakes fail, you can drive up that hill and not kill everyone, including yourself. All right, so if this is 20, what is the angle of inclination? Well, the 20% gives me my decimal, doesn't it? 0.2. And the angle, I have to shift tan 0.2. So if it was 20, it's 0.2. What if it's 25? What's my shift tan? 0.25. What if it's 10? 0.1. What if it's 15? 0.15. Because 10 is 10 over 100. And if I were to draw that road, it would go up 10 for every 100 I went that way. Everybody got it? Sweet. A bird watcher sights an eagle at the top of a 20-meter tree. I gave you the picture of the eagle to help you. That picture of the eagle is at the top of a 20-meter tree, right? Well, there's the tree. How tall is it? 20. The bird watcher, who is purple, I don't know why. Why are you being harassed? There's his binoculars, and he's a punk, so he's got a pink mohawk, and he's a nudist, because I can't be bothered drawing clothes.
Why don't you give him shoes?
How far away is he? Where's the 50? Right, because he's 50 meters from the tree, not 50 meters from the bird. There is 50. At what angle must he move his... Oh, damn it, I drew binoculars instead of a camera. They're like that. They're fancy binoculars with a camera in them. What does he have to move? So he has to get this angle. What is it? It's shift tan of what? 20 over 50. And it gets you 22 degrees. Okay. Can everybody do... Oh, 20 is really hard because I don't give you any numbers, do I? So, what does it look like? What have I had to do for every trig question? What did I do? I drew a triangle. So what do you think I should do here? Excellent. Where's the wall? The vertical one. Excellent. Wall. Well done. Where's the floor? Excellent. Well done. See, everybody says my drawings are so bad, and yet all of you know where the floor and the wall are. Where is the ladder?
Non-existent at the moment.
Leaning against the wall.
Non-existent at the moment.
What did I just make?
A triangle.
Excellent. For safety reasons, a ladder is positioned so the distance between its base and the wall is no greater than 1/4 the length of the ladder. So, do I know how long the ladder is? No. But this says for any ladder, correct? So can I give this ladder any length I want?
Yes.
What length would you like to give it? Say a number. 20. Great. This is a 20-foot ladder. Now, Preston, I know why you chose 20. Why don't you tell us why you chose 20?
Well, it's actually Roger and Brittany who figured it out. But you just need a quarter of it.
Yeah, because the distance between the base of the ladder and the wall can't be bigger than 1/4 of that. So any number that divides by 4 works here, doesn't it? Because size of the triangle doesn't matter, does it? Size of the triangle does not affect the angles. So if this is 20, what's 1/4 of 20? 5. Right? Now, I want this angle. Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Myers. You haven't told us how to find the angle when we have a hypotenuse. You've only told us how to find the angle when we have this side and this side. So what do I do? Pythagoras. Because you have to pretend like you've never seen cosine, like half the class said. What would you do? You would Pythagoras for this side, which would be the square root of 20 squared minus 5 squared, right? And that would be my opposite, right? So the tan, shift tan of opposite, which is the square root of 20 squared minus 5 squared over, what's adjacent? 5. That would give you your angle. Is everybody clear? Excellent. Now, the reason Toya said cosine is because he was in a class last year that did some trig. Some of you, a good proportion of you, put your hand up and said you did no trig last year, which means you have to do this way with tan. Now, why is it the very last question we did with tan? Because you can plainly see that it would be easier if we had something that worked with the hypotenuse, which is what we're about to get to. Okay? Okay. Turn your page over, you silly geese. My mom calls people silly geese. 56. Word. You got 76? The answer is 76. What did you do? 20 divided by 5? No. Yeah, but it's not right. It just is one of the times that it happens to work out. All right. Now, as we have said, we have already talked about tangent, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And the problem with tangent is it only works with legs. But there's a third side to the triangle. And the third side is the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse gets two trig ratios. It gets sine and it gets cosine. And we are going to be dealing with them right now. Sine, which is yellow. Remember, what angles does this work for? Angles.
Specific angle. Right angle. For the specific angles in the right triangle.
Which angle? Thank you. For a specific angle, your theta. Your theta. All right? Now remember, tan didn't work for the 90 degree. Okay? But sine and cosine do. So that's why we have to remember it is the theta about which we care. Yes? All right. The sine ratio compares the opposite, which we already know means what? What does that mean in actual English? Across. And you divide that by the hypotenuse. If you were dividing it by the adjacent, it would just be tan. That's why it gets a new name. All right? Now remember, it is the measurements of those two. Now, being the intelligent people that you are, what must cosine be then? Adjacent. Now, adjacent is what messes kids up. What does adjacent mean? Beside. But every theta has two sides beside it. Right. The adjacent is the leg beside, not the hypotenuse. Is everybody good? All right. Now, this sets up this silly little mnemonic, this pretend word that isn't a real word. SOHCAHTOA. Now, when I was your people's age and I learned this, I said, wow, that sounds like a Japanese word. And my teacher was like, what do you mean? And I said, SOHCAHTOA! And my teacher was like, you're an idiot. And I was like, fair enough. That was the teacher that was super handsome that my grade 10 girlfriend was in love with.
Wow.
My grade 10 girlfriend, when I would come out of his class, would always be like, how's Mr. Stewart? He's fine. And then the next day, I'd come out of class. How's Mr. Stewart? He's fine. The next day I come out of, how's Mr. Stewart?
Is that dumping you for Mr. Stewart?
No. Mr. Stewart was 150. Well, no, he was probably like 35. But, I mean, I was 14, so he seemed like 150. Like I seem 150 to you people. Now, that being said, Mr. Stewart was a handsome fella. Don't get me wrong. He was a handsome guy. I didn't spend a lot of time looking into his eyes because, as you may or may not guess, Selena, I was a back row kind of kid in grade 10. So anyway, so when I heard this, I was karate chopping and yelling, SOHCAHTOA! And Mr. Stewart was like, you're an idiot. So, anyway. Huh? What? I would just say he was always fine. Happy girlfriend, happy life, Toya. Right? Yeah, except at 15, we're not living in a village in the middle of the Congo. We don't get married at 15. All right, so S stands for sine. O stands for opposite. H stands for hypotenuse. Sine goes with opposite and hypotenuse. Cos goes with adjacent and hypotenuse. And tan goes with op and adjacent. Now, why would I leave this much white space here, you ask? So we can draw a triangle. I'm going to draw a triangle in my favorite color, which is?
Purple.
Good job, children. And I'm going to label that triangle QRS. Now I want you to tell me the sides. What is this side? Lil S. What is this side? Lil Q. What's this side? Lil R. All right? Now, here's where I see if those of you who have never done trig before have actually been paying attention. Tell me the sine of big S, the cos of big S, and the tan of big S. Go. It's the theme to I Dream of Jeannie, in case anybody cares.
I thought you were going to say the Dream of Jesus.
No, I Dream of Jeannie. Sometimes I whistle the Jeopardy theme, and sometimes I whistle, oh man, now it's out of my head. The Mos Eisley Cantina music from Star Wars. And now I can't remember how it goes. Holy crap. Why can't I remember the Mos Eisley Cantina song? That's what I'm going to name my band if I ever have a band. I'm going to name the band Mos Eisley and his Cantina band.
If I ever have an a cappella band, I'm going to call it the Alpaca Band.
All right. Wah! Okay. Who's been paying attention? What is the sine of big S? Little s over little r. What is the cos of big S? Lil q over lil r. What's the tan of big S? Lil s over lil q. Now tell me the sine of q, the cos of q, and the tan of q. That's the Mos Eisley Cantina song. It just took a while. I had to think of something else. Then my brain rooted around down in the bottoms of it and found it. Star Wars. It's the Mos Eisley Cantina band theme. That's what I want to name my band. Mos Eisley. That would be me, the singer, because I have no talent. I can't play an instrument, but I can write. And I have the firmest belief that any band that has a singer that doesn't actually play an instrument is only in the band because he can write the songs and everyone else was too shy to be the singer. Because there are many bands where the singer sounds awful, but he's still in the band. Pearl Jam. If you don't know the band, the singer of Pearl Jam doesn't play any instruments, but he writes all their lyrics. And he's not a good singer. His voice is not good. But he's the singer. The Tragically Hip. Good Canadian Heroes. The singer for the Hip, horrible singer, but he was a poet. Death Cab for Cutie. That guy doesn't sing. All he does is talk. That's all he talks. Digging through the rubble of my town, because he's a poet. Cake. Short skirt, long jacket. That guy doesn't sing. He writes the stuff because everyone else was too shy to do it. But as I've spent more and more time hanging out with bands, I've started to learn that it turns out the singers often can play instruments. They're just not as good. So that's why they become the singers. So it screwed up my whole plan. But I still plan to get into a band with a bunch of guys who are too shy to be the singers. It's still my dream, so I'll succeed, won't I? because I live in North America. And if you can dream it, you can do it. So pretty soon I'm leaving here to go on tour. Except I'm not. What? Well, nowadays with auto-tune, everyone can sing. I call attention to every band you people listen to. All of them. None of them can sing. They all have auto-tune. Now, unless you're a band, if you see a band wearing a blue ribbon, that means they hate auto-tune and they support actual voices. So if you ever see a band wearing a blue ribbon at an awards show or something, it's because they don't use auto-tune. Because they believe in live music, which is the way music is supposed to be heard. Now, what was the sign of Q? Q over R. What was the cos of R? Or the cos of Q? S over R. And what was the tan of Q? Q over S. Please notice the similarities. It's tough to see the Q over 5 when I use green. I know. I realized it after, but it was too late. I had to commit.
It's okay, just leave it.
No. Heaven forbid. Yeah, but when you're coloring, if you take your pen off at all, it'll only Control Z back to the last little swipe you did. All right, so anyway, everybody see? Now that makes sense, doesn't it? Because when I did S, this was my theta, and I was down here because I cared about this angle, yes? But when I did Q, I climbed the mountain, and now I'm up there. So my opposites and my adjacents have switched places. What didn't switch? The hypotenuse never changes. Opposite and adjacent do. Is everybody cool? All right. Now, let's go ahead and we'll work this one together. Then you're going to do these two by yourself. Remember, you have a method to do every trig question. Do you have a theta? What is it? 12. Which means this is the angle that you care about. Right? Which means this is where we view our opposites and adjacents from. What's over there? That's an opposite. So I have an opposite that is x. What else do I have? That is not adjacent. I have an hypotenuse, which is 25. What uses O and H? Sine. Sine of theta is O over H. Now just fill it in. Sine of 12 is x over 25. How do you get rid of divided by 25? Multiply. 25 sine 12 equals x. Now I go to my calculator. How do I do that? It depends on your calculator, right? That's why I'm not writing it out. You need to know what your machine does to do that. Some of you, it is 12 sine times 25. Some of you, it is 25 times sine 12. Some of you will want to push sine 12 times 25. I can't tell you what to push. You need to know what your machine is. What is x? For me, on my calculator, since mine's a forward calculator, I can punch in exactly what I see. 25 sine 12, close brackets, equals 5.2. What is the first thing you should check right now if you can't get 5.2? What should you check on your calculator screen? Make sure you've got a D. Was everyone able to get 5.2? Yes? Spectacular. Now do the next two. Go.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that long enough? Can I set them up right now but not show the right answer? Does that work for everyone? Okay. Sophie, choose a color.
I choose blue.
Light or dark?
Light.
Okay. Now I will set up the last one. Who would like to give me the color for the last one?
Red.
Yellow.
Yellow? You're yellow.
Yeah, that's why I said red. But
Now, so everybody should be comfortable in getting to these points. Why would I use blue over blue, you moron? Oh, that doesn't work either. Son of a bee. Ooh.
oh, that's so pretty.
Ooh. All right. Well, right. Feng Shui is important. So everybody should be able to get to the highlighted spots, yes? Because up to the highlighted spots, it's the same for everyone, right? But to get the actual answer, you have options depending on what kind of calculator you have, right? And even depending on what kind of calculator you have options for the order you punch this in, right? So what is the answer to the middle one that was written in light blue? What is x equal? 42 point what? 3. Now, let's stop and think about this for a minute. Does that make sense? It's the hypotenuse. It's longer than this side. And 19 isn't very far, is it? 19 degrees? So this number can't be very big, yeah? So the hypotenuse should be pretty close to 40, was it? So we're right. Everybody cool? Let's come over to here. I have the whole decimal, don't I? So it's a shift coast situation. How big is angle x here? What's theta? What? No. 54 degrees. 13 divided by 22 is 0.56, but that's the cosine. That's not the angle. You got to shift cosine to get the angle. And Selena assures me that it's 54 degrees. Is there any corroboration, or do I need to get out my calculator? 54 is cool? All right.
So would you put in...
Hold it. You're just rolling right over her, Suhani. She just started.
So would you put in shift, cosine, and then 13 divided by 22?
That's what I do on my forward calculator.
Okay.
Some of you, it depends on your machine. That's why I made you write out this. Remember when I said write out what you have to do on your calculator? That's why I did that. So you would know how to do it. Is everybody cool? Now listen to me. That is all you need to know how to do all the trigonometry in the world. SOHCAHTOA. That's it. But you must apply it to appropriate situations. So, let me give you an example of what I mean. Every single one of you can pick up a hammer and bash a nail into a piece of wood, yes? That is the only skill you need to build a house, yes? Yes. Yes, it is. You get a bunch of 2x4s, you nail them together. You get a bunch of plywood, you nail it on the 2x4s. House. No, that's not what I said. I didn't say build a home. I said build a house. All you need to know is how to hammer, yes? Right? Now, again, don't lawyer ball, Selena. To build the actual structure, the only skill you need is banging with a hammer, yes? Okay, but to build the structure, you must apply said skill appropriately. Agreed? There is more to it than thud, right? Same thing here. The tools you need are only SOHCAHTOA. The application is your responsibility, which is why the next 4 pages and the next 35 minutes of class time is going to be spent working on 57, which has the answers, 58, which has the answers, and 3 puzzle sheets. Now, these puzzle sheets have particularly funny jokes. Yes. Now listen, please. Listen, please. Listen, please. Today you will work on this. Tomorrow we will go over your test, which will take about half the period. Tomorrow is Thursday. It's a short day. So we will spend the other half of the period ensuring that you are all awesome possums at SOHCAHTOA. And the other thing we will do tomorrow is, remember back when we were talking about angles in the real world? And I left a bunch of empty space? Why? More stuff about angles in the real world. We'll finish that tomorrow because you don't need that stuff for today's work. And then Friday, you're going to do a little project thing. I know, right? It will be in maximum groups of 3, Jasleen. No, you must work with groups of 2 or groups of 3. I will not tell you what that project is. But, no, it is not making a cake. It is, the project is similar to a scene in Apollo 13. And that's all I'm going to